Hello, my gamer friends. Welcome back to another Lost Ark video. This one's going to be a bit different than usual. I have made one of these videos prior, but it was bad and I didn't really know what I was doing. So hopefully this one will be a bit better. What are we going to do? Well, this is going to be, as the title suggests, sort of an all-inclusive, comprehensive, in-depth Mayhem Berserker guide. I think it's relevant to do one, since 1, I fucking love the new Berserker. 2, a lot of people ask about it in my Discord. Again, Discord description, join the Discord. And 3, I mean, it's new, so a lot of people are trying to figure out the new stuff. So, I will have timestamps to each different section that I go over. Again, I'm going to cover pretty much everything I possibly can. So, some of it might not be relevant to you, some of it might be. Timestamps, skip around as needed. Sound good? Sound good. And of course, if you could, like the video, helps it out, helps the channel out, smiley face. Okay, so first thing, we're just going to start from ground up basics. Our stat distribution is going to be crit swift. My stats are a bit low because I am kind of a welfare gamer, especially on this character, despite me loving it so much. I mean, I 5x3'd this character like a year ago at this point. I haven't touched it since. Look. Basically, you want as much crit as you can get, like 1300 plus 1400-ish, if you can. And you want about 850 Swift. Why 850 Swift? Around that number will get you cap with Raid Captain with Yearning. That's the goal. Obviously, cooldowns always help. You can achieve this very easily by getting crit on all of your gear, except one Swiftness ring and Swiftness crit bracelet. Pretty simple. Now, we're going to go over engravings. There are 2 real different setups. 3, I guess, if you want to do a little custo stuff, but my setup, I run Mayhem level 1. This is okay to do because Mayhem doesn't scale the best. It also doesn't scale the worst. As you can see, it's a 16% damage engraving, which is totally fine. When I did it this way, however, it was significantly cheaper and gold was a lot tighter back then. So, for what it's worth, this is a very competitive setup, and if you're going for a 5x3 +1 setup, then your +1 will ideally be Mayhem. So this will end up being better. The other setup that you can run is obviously you drop level 2 Cursed Doll, and then you run Mayhem level 3. So you'd have Grudge 3, Keen Blunt 3, Master Tenacity 3, Raid Captain 3, Mayhem 3. If you dislike Raid Captain significantly, you can drop Raid Captain for Cursed Doll, if you so desire. As far as Raid Captain classes go, I feel pretty good using Raid Captain on Mayhem Berserker. But, again, the option is there if you dislike it. As far as engravings go, that's about it. You can't really change anything else. I mean, you can, but it'll just be significantly worse. Anyways, that's engravings done. Let's go over card set. Obviously, the endgame card set's going to be LOS 30. However, Berserker has a bunch of different card sets that it can utilize well, and I will be opening up the services here. So, let's take a look here. Lost One Cliff is obviously another good set you can use if you don't have LOS 18+. You only want to use LOS if you have 18 Awakening or higher, because it doesn't increase your damage unless you do. Yes, I know it changes your damage type to Holy, and there are like a couple instances where you can take advantage of that, but it's just not worth it, man. It's too much brain power for not very much damage increase. The other option you have, however, is Forest of Giant and We'll Meet Again. Forest of Giant gives you a bunch of physical and magic defense, and it also increases the effectiveness of your healing pots. And We'll Meet Again gives you a bunch of damage reduction when your HP is 50% or lower. And if you have the Full Awakening, it quickly restores your HP for 5 seconds when you're attacked while your HP is below 20%. The combination of these two card sets allow you to become very tanky. So if you're struggling with content, like prog content, consider running We'll Meet Again plus Forest of Giants until you are more comfortable. Because at the end of the day, if you're dead, not only are you not doing damage, but you're also not really learning, right? So yes, it isn't the most hyper efficient. However, consider these two card sets if you are struggling on something new or you're not familiar with it. Because your goal is to learn. Capiche? Capiche. Okay. So, relic set. We'll go back here, check out the relic set. We use Nightmare. Nightmare is really the only option we have. There is a very specific and janky IMO entropy build, but I'm not going to get into that at all. If you are somebody that wants to do it, you can go look it up and look into it yourself. I would not recommend the entropy Berserker build. It's just jank as hell. I know there's some diehard fans of it that will probably call me an idiot, but it is what it is. I don't recommend it, personally. Now, if you're familiar with Berserker, or old Berserker, and not super familiar with new Berserker, and you're trying to figure out what to change and what's different, our new skill is going to be Overdrive. Overdrive is replacing Strike Wave. This is our new Strike Wave. It's a good skill, it's just a better Strike Wave. That's really all you need to know. Brave Slash is also a new skill that we got, that we are able to run, so we have more damage abilities and our rotation is smoother. This obviously replaces our one mobility skill we used to take, which was Shoulder Charge. If you are a diehard Shoulder Charge fan, you can still run it. So instead of Brave Slash, you would have Shoulder Charge. And for tripods on your Overdrive skill, instead of taking Ruthless, which changes it to a combo attack, you would take Limit Break, which essentially makes it into Strike Wave. It turns it into charge mode, so it's basically Strike Wave. I personally would not recommend this because this new rotation is just, it flows really well, and you'll see what I mean later when I start getting into the rotation. But as far as skills go, those are your only real swap-ins or outs. Obviously, as things get changed or more things get theory crafted, though, anything is possible, and I will leave a link to the Berserker community guide in the description below, as that will always be the most up-to-date and most fact-checked document available. The community guides for this game are honestly astounding, and I double-check a lot of my information from them, despite me being able to do the majority of the groundwork myself. Another thing is, people say we're starved for tripods. You don't need quick prep on Tempest Slash anymore. I know a lot of people take that. You also run Chainsword at level 4, and you only take the crit rate tripod. If you were running Chainsword at 7 or 10 previously, no longer do we do that. You max out every skill except Tempest Slash, which is at 11. And obviously Red Dust at 10, because we don't have the skill points. And again, we only take Vital Point hit, tripod on Red Dust. No more Red Wave if you were running it for the damage, because we need the tripod slots for everything else. You can kind of see. You don't necessarily need quick prep on Brave Slash, I will say that, but it helps in case your things get a little jank. Swordstorm. You do need quick prep on Swordstorm 100%. That's non-negotiable. And then you don't take the Leap tripod, but you also swap Earth Flip. We used to take Earth Flip. We take Bloody Eruption now because it lines up the cooldowns, which again, makes the whole rotation feel very good. So I think that does it for skills. What are we going to do now? We're going to go over the runes real quick. The runes that I recommend: Finish Strike, obviously still your slowest skill, especially if you're taking the additional wind-up time tripod, which I am. Legendary Gale Wind on that biatch helps. Obviously, that's all there is to it. You're going to want to put a Bleed Rune on Red Dust. Rage I have on Chainsword. Chainsword is sort of your biggest flex spot. I mean, Red Dust can also be a flex spot, but Bleed is just Bleed. So if you need like a Purifier or something, feel free to swap it onto Chainsword. Finish Strike, again, Legendary Gale Wind. Brave Slash, we stick a blue Gale Wind on it just because there's no really other option. It also helps a bit to get off the 4 skills in Red Dust window a bit better. Sword Storm, we're going to take a Legendary Focus Rune. Again, that's just to help our mana issues, so we go into Boundless at the right time. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. When I go through the rotation, I'll sort of point out what I mean by this. And then Epic Gale Winds on Hellblade and Overdrive, and then again, Legendary Focus on Tempest Slash. Again, for the same mana issues with the whole making Boundless smooth. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Trust. Trust in the system. Okay, I've been talking up a storm. I think it is probably time for sort of me to talk about the main goal of Berserker. It's broken down very simply. You use Red Dust, and you get your Red Dust buff. Here, let me spawn a monster so you can actually see what I mean. You see, you're down here, you get Red Dust crit buff. It gives you attack power, the Red Dust buff itself, and it also gives you crit from the tripod. So your goal is to get off 4 skills during this window. You'll see I missed it there because I waited a second before I started doing it, but this is your goal. Getting off 4 skills during your Red Dust window. This is the bread and butter of Berserker. You do that, you're Gucci. And then you Chainsword for Sword Storm and Tempest Slash. Pretty simple. That's the core idea behind the gameplay. You Red Dust, do your big smashy attacks during Red Dust, and then you Chainsword for Sword Storm and Tempest Slash. Make sense? Awakening, it does a decent amount of damage, but you can also just use it immediately for Nightmare. It doesn't really matter. Something to note is it does have weak point level 2 on it, which is good, and you don't need to charge it for weak point, so if you need burst weak point, consider just smashing that real quick for the weak point. Just quite good. Dark Rush is our identity skill when we're in Mayhem. This doesn't really do very much damage. What I mean by this is, like, I'll start a DPS test right now, and I will just use Dark Rush. All back attacks, it did 4.7 million damage. That's not very impressive. Especially when you consider our auto attacks do not quite the same amount of damage, but pretty comparable damage, considering we're just holding down right click. So Dark Rush, not really worth using for anything but sort of the super armor. Obviously, it also has weak point on it, and it's a really good stagger, but you're not going to be using it for damage. That is not its purpose. So, I think it's time for us to do the rotation aspect. So, for rotation, we are going to do, again, sort of the Red Dust, and then 4 main skills. Our 4 main skills being Overdrive, Finish Strike, Brave Slash, Hellblade. If you do this properly, you'll be able to fit them all in the same window, just barely. And again, this is me without Yearning set, and I'm not doing Spirit Absorption to simulate having a support's Yearning, just to prove that it still can be done. If you are having some severe issues with Finish Strike, you can always use the Enhanced Strike tripod, which is a bit less damage than Gravitational Blow, but it also does not increase the wind-up time of it, so it gives you an additional half a second to get your skills off in the red dust window, which can be very useful. Again, it's kind of up to personal preference, what tripod you use. Completely up to you. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So for rotation again, I'll go over it as I kind of do it here. I'll just set it up for 1 minute, just because we're just trying to show off the rotation, not so much the damage. So again, you're going to red dust into overdrive. It's 3 hits of overdrive into 2 hits of finish strike into 2 hits of brave slash into hellblade. Then we chain sword, sword storm, tempest slash. And then we have a period of downtime where we can just auto attack. You see? And then red dust is up. We do it all again. 3 hits of overdrive, 2 hits of finish strike, 2 hits of brave slash, and hellblade. Into chain sword, sword storm, tempest slash. Now you'll see I went into boundless after the combo, which is good. Boundless will line itself up if you're doing the rotation correctly. You'll see we'll go into Magic Addiction right before we start this. Magic Addiction, and our combo's up. We're doing the combo again. You'll see it flows very smoothly, and there's no real thinking needed to manage your boundless and Magic Addiction, which is something that I really enjoy with this setup. It just feels very good. You'll see what I mean. You'll always go into boundless on the sword storm. The second sword storm. Overall, I think it's very, very good. Obviously, Berserker got very good changes. And I think that's about all I've got. So I'm going to end the video off with a 2-minute damage test because I'm sure a lot of people care. I'm not going to use Awakening or anything. Just use it for Nightmare. But we will do the test here while I wrap up the video. Something that it took me a little bit to get used to, though, is Finish Strike not having super armor anymore because I used to use the push immunity tripod, and I no longer do. And another thing is overdrive is 3 hits. You do the 2 hits, and then the 3rd hit you have to make sure you get in. Kind of like that. See, second sword storm, we go into boundless. And then when you're in boundless, when you finish your main combo, you can immediately go into another. So Berserker actually ends up being kind of spammy, to be honest. More so than you would think. See, okay, there I made a mistake. You want to wait to go into Magic Addiction for like a split second, because now you'll see I went into Magic Addiction halfway through that, so my skills are disjointed. Let me stop this test. I'll talk about it when I do it again. This time I won't mess that up. I was just not focused on it. Like I said, you don't have to focus on the management of Boundless and Magic Addiction very much. But you do have to wait for yourself to go into Magic Addiction before you do the next combo. There's like a split second where you have to wait. We're going to go into Boundless here, which is good. So we're going to do one combo in Boundless, and then we're going to wait a split second until we go into Magic Addiction before we do the next one. Because it'll be up straight away. So now you wait until you go into Magic Addiction. I should have Sword Storm Tempest Slash there. I kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit, but you get the idea. I'm just going to wait for the full reset. Sometimes it's better to just wait for the full reset to make sure your stuff lines up better. I wonder if I'll still go into Boundless. I did, good. So I lost a little bit of DPS because I messed up the rotation slightly. But you can see there's ways to fix it without totally killing your DPS. And then this is where you should wait a split second before you go into Magic Addiction, then you go into the combo again. Every second Sword Storm, you go into Boundless. And after doing one Boundless rotation, after the Sword Storm Tempest Slash, you have to wait a split second to go back into Magic Addiction before you do the Overdrive Red Dust combo again. Overall, it feels very smooth once you get used to it. That wasn't a super accurate DPS test. If it was, I would have been easily over 700. But again, that's not the point of this. The point of this is to just sort of lay out the new Mayhem Berserker and try to guide you guys into the right direction. Anyways, I think that'll be it for this kind of video. Let me know if you enjoy this style of video. I did make one on Robust Spirit a long time ago. It wasn't my best video because it was so long ago and I was still new to the whole thing. Hopefully this one's a bit better. In any case, I will see you all in the next video. Make sure to like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it, and leave a comment down below as always. And if you made it this far and you want to see more Lost Ark content from your boy, subscribe. And of course, consider becoming a member on YouTube. It's like a Patreon sub. Helps the channel, helps me. Yeah. Alright. Bye.